Welcome. I'm Julie Bacon, and you're listening to the Mindset Coaching for Handlers podcast, a podcast for dog handlers who are on a mission to achieve big goals. Here I share lessons, insights, personal stories, and tools you can apply during your next show, trial, or test to help you strengthen your mental game and hopefully cue more consistently. Be sure to check out the show notes where you'll find details about the episodes, plus important links, including the link to the Dogged Planner and Workbook created just for handlers on a mission. So if you're ready to improve your competitive mindset, get out of your own way, and connect with your dog like never before, then it's time to get comfy, bring an open mind, and work your mindset. Hey there, and welcome back to the podcast. All right, this week we are talking about how we measure our progress. Because if you've been listening to me for a long time, I am sure, I am convinced that you have process goals, right? Because we talk about it a lot. We talk about the fact that in order to achieve those big outcome goals like titles and awards or qualifying for things or, just all around doing great things that you can brag about on Facebook or write down in your journal or in your planner, hint, hint, as the case may be, that you need to be focused on your process goals in order to achieve your outcome goals, okay? In other words, if we want that cue, just even like this afternoon, right? You want that cue today, then you really need to focus on the things that you need to execute in order to put yourself in a position to cue. All right. So most of you, I'm preaching to the choir, you already know. And if you've had that experience where you've really, truly for real, embraced process goals and truly not worried about the outcome, but then you see it all fall into place because you were focused on those process goals, then you know what I mean. Some of you are still experimenting. You're still getting there. You're still kind of waiting for that feeling. But I promise you, the day you do it and it kind of plays out and the dominoes fall into place, you're going to be like, oh my God, this is what she was going on and on and on about, okay? So I'm looking forward to that day, okay? So many of you know this, right? And I'm not going to spend time on this. There are other episodes you can listen to, blogs, etc. Sign up for my email address, sign up for my emails that I send every week, get the planner, yada, yada, goals for days, okay? And you'll be hearing more on goals soon. But what I am going to spend time on today is where we're kind of getting them confused. Because what I see is happening is my clients, my coaching clients, right? My membership clients are spending their energy like making those process goals. They're writing them down. They're putting them on 3x5 cards. They're, putting them notes and they're looking at them the last thing, before they get their dog out of the crate to run. They are absolutely 100% focused on process goals. However, they are measuring how well they're doing in life by the outcomes, by the number of cues, by the number of new titles, by the fact that, like I heard someone say this weekend, actually, they were like, oh my God, we haven't cued in this class in a year. So you could be focused on process goals, but you are measuring your success by the outcome. Okay. So your process goal could be like cueing earlier, running connected, making sure you're making eye contact, making sure you're playing in between exercises, whatever that might be. Okay. And you are nailing that. But then you're coming out of the ring and you're like, we didn't cue, or we did cue, or whatever. But you're not going back to that process goal and saying, I cued my dog early enough. I, got the eye contact I needed. I, was really good with my footwork, what have you. Because I feel like sometimes, process goals aren't there. You have to set them, but then measure against the process goal. Okay. They're not for they're not for fun, right? I mean, yes, it is really important for our focus and it is really important to ground us in our process goals because again, those process goals are the things we are in 100% in control of. I can control whether or not I make eye contact with my dog coming out of a tunnel. I can control whether or not I do the correct footwork on my about turns in obedience, right? I can control whether or not I'm cueing my dog, giving them the information early enough, all right? I can control all of that. What I can't control is if my dog decides to like go visit the ring crew, or if my dog decides that like today's the day, that they're going to go, get a wild hair and take an off-course tunnel, right? Or do something silly, or spook and lose focus in the obedience ring or something, right? I only influence my dogs. I don't control them. I also don't control the judge who might make a different call than I was hoping for, right? Or I don't control the environment where there was like an extra distraction or something weird happened, or the loud fan turned on in the middle of my run, or just, all of the crazy stuff that happens when we compete in a sport, a lot of times weekend after weekend. So those are the things I don't control. Again, what I control is the process goals. I don't control whether or not I cue. That's up to the judge and the environment and my dog and the things that go right or wrong in those, anywhere from like 20 seconds to 10 minutes, depending on the venue, depending on how long we're in the ring, et cetera, et cetera. So when we are looking at process goals and outcome goals, we have to also be measuring by our process goals. And so many times what's happening is people are coming out of the ring, they go into the ring with their process goals, but they come out of the ring forgetting they had process goals. And not to say they didn't do them in the ring, but I'm just saying they're not measuring their success by how well they executed their process goals. Okay. And sometimes they don't want to, okay? Because sometimes the answer is like, no, I didn't connect out of the tunnel. No, you're right. I was late with that blind cross, no, I didn't do my footwork correctly, or, I did something weird between exercises and or I got more nervous or more uptight than I wanted to or thought I would. Okay. But we need to be measuring by our process goals, because if we're only measuring by our outcome goals, then that's telling me, like in a coaching call, that's telling me a couple of things. One, you might be going into the ring with process goals, but you got outcome goals on the brain. Okay. And two, your process goals might not be important enough, or you might not think that they matter enough for you to be measuring against them. Because if I'm really trying to work on something, let's say I'm really trying to connect with my dog out of the tunnel, because I tend to throw him in the tunnel and then just run down the line, right? Never look back. Okay, I'm being dramatic, but it might have happened. If I'm really working on that, if I'm truly working on that, then it will matter when I come out of the ring whether or not I did that. Right? If it really is important that I make eye contact with my dog when they come out of that tunnel, then my friends, myself, my video should be able to give me that feedback and tell me, did I do it or did I not do it? And that is worthwhile, because then what we can do is we can say, oh my God, that was so much better. But did you see that eye contact, right? And yeah, someone's going to say, hey, how'd it go this morning? Or how'd you do? And we always think that they mean, or that the answer that they're looking for is kind of a thumbs up, thumbs down. Did I cue? Did I not cue? But it doesn't mean we have to answer them that way. We can actually say like, stuck to my process goals, or just like, I had some amazing contact out of that tunnel today. Or like, we really were running connected today. Okay. So just because you think that other people are asking you, did you cue or not, doesn't mean that that's how you have to evaluate your runs, right? Because really, if you think about it, progress is not made in the cueing. Progress is made when you figure something out. Progress is made in the struggle, in the trying, in the getting your skills, in the working on yourself. In really, progress might be your start line stay, right? The whole thing might have fallen apart, but they had that start line stay and you let out 3 jumps. Or you nailed your figure 8 finally after really working on your footwork for it, right? You really got the shape of it correctly. Your halts were good. Your footwork was good. You nailed it. Did the dog do their part of it? Who knows? Who cares? It will happen if you keep being consistent with your piece of it. That is why we need to continue to focus on the pieces we control, which is the parts that we need to execute in order to put ourselves in a position to cue. But if you are measuring by some other standard, or let's say you go into the ring, the agility ring, and your process goal is to get your dog walk contact, which means being in the right place for your dog walk contact. Maybe, we're really cueing it early, whatever that means to you. And again, you're not in total control of that, but you're going to do your part. Okay. So that's what that means. And your other one is to make eye contact out of the tunnel, just to keep using that for easy. Okay. And you come out of the ring, and the first thing you say is they didn't get their weaves. What are you measuring? There's a disconnect, right? And yeah, you may be bummed that they didn't get their weaves. True facts, all right? But you want to be able to go back to those process goals of, well, did you or did you not have eye contact coming out of that tunnel? Did you or did you not get in the right place and do the right things to get the dog walk contact? Those are the things you should be measuring. If weaves wasn't on your bingo card, right? Then that you're being depressed about something that you weren't necessarily focused on. Now, maybe you weren't focused on it because you make assumptions that your dog has it and they just do it and you never have to worry about it. But the point is like, if you say that your process goals are important, then you should be measuring by your process goals. And you should also then be like making a couple notes every run or every week or whatever to see like, how's it going? Like, how are you doing? Like, are you making progress toward that? Are you getting better? Right? Are those things like improving because you are giving it your focus? Because remember, because we're here, we are in a growth mindset, and a growth mindset believes that with effort, with focus, with attention, we can improve. So if your process goals are those places that you really need to focus, then you really need to be tracking whether or not you're improving on those things. Does that make sense? Okay, another take on this when I come back. Quick question. Do you ever wish you had more mindset help? Well, the Q membership was created just for that reason. Every month we pick a topic, and then we have 4 lessons, which are kind of like these podcasts, that we dive deeper into. And so if you are ready for more, you're ready for more mindset work, think about joining the Q membership. Annual members get a free coaching session, but you can also choose the monthly option as well. Go to theqcoach.com to learn more. Let's get back to the episode. Okay, I feel like I'm giving you a lecture. I don't mean to be lecturing anybody, okay? Because I'm just as guilty of falling short of my process goals or forgetting to measure against them as anybody else. I'm not. This is just a reminder for all of us. And sometimes these podcast topics are for myself as well as everybody else, right? But the other thing about process goals are that if you really are setting them and you're really in a good habit about setting them, remember that they need to be refreshed once in a while. Because if your process goals aren't like jazzing you up, or if they're not worth measuring against, right? If you come out of the ring and you're like, yeah, start line, stay, whatever. And then maybe you need a new process goal, because maybe all the effort and all the attention that you had been putting on that yielded the results that you want. Now you have those results, and now it's time to pick another process goal. Your process goals might not be lighting you up anymore. And if they're not lighting you up, then of course you don't want to measure against them, because you're like, meh, don't care, or whatever, or I just expect that now, or whatever. Okay? And not to say that like maybe connection isn't always on the list, but if connection's always on the list, then as you evaluate your run, one of the things that you're evaluating against is connection. Right? You should be evaluating your run against your process goals. If they're not lighting you up, maybe it's time to revise your process goals. Maybe it's time to find new things to care about, and maybe even new challenges, right? Maybe you really want to work on some new skills and throw those out there and make that the process goal of the day or the run. Your process goals don't have to be for a weekend or a month or a quarter or a year. They can just be for that moment. Maybe you were working on double Qs and you blew your double Q in the morning. So in the afternoon, make a new process goal. implement that skill, layer that obstacle, do the thing that you were too worried to try in the morning because you really wanted the double. But now that the double's gone, now you can really try something, right? So think about it that way, okay? And think about then, well, what are good process goals? What are the things I'm working on? Because I think sometimes they get stale. And when they get stale, we're either A, because we've accomplished that and it's old hat now, or B, because they're really not making that much of an impact. Okay, so what would make an impact? What is worth getting excited about? What is worth measuring against? What is worth writing down and tracking and working on? Maybe another way to look at it is, what would really improve your game? Right? I know I'm using agility a lot as an example today, but what would improve your run? What would improve your healing? What would improve your connection? What would improve it? What do you need to work on? And then you go back and you say okay, now I need these different skills. Or now I need, to get help from my coach, my trainer, whatever, my instructor, my class instructor, what have you, because this is the problem I'm having now. Don't forget to keep pushing yourself, to keep growing, to keep wanting more, and as you get better, okay? The other thing about forgetting to measure against process goals and only looking at outcome goals is it can get really depressing, okay? Right? To those people, and I have been that person, who haven't cued in that class in a year, right? Or more, you all know Moxie is the real star of this podcast and our struggles with the weave poles, right? We've been more than a year, more than 18 months, without cues. I don't have reliable cues with her, or reliable weave poles with her, I should say, right? So I get it. I get what it's like to be that bummed out. All right. So then where else can you go? What else can you be focusing on? All right. Because if you're only focusing on your outcomes, if your outcomes are your only measure of success, then yeah, that can get rough. We need to be able to set milestones, process goals, other areas of measurement so that we can always be improving, always be seeing our success. And that's why I want you to journal, not because I need you to write dear diary, this is what happened and the weather was this and this girl was mean to me and they were out of donuts and whatever. I don't need the story. I need 3 words, right? That's all you need to write down is a few words, a few select words about your, about your run, so that you can watch the progress, so that you can look back 90 days or 120 days and look back at what you were struggling with then and go, oh my God, I'm not struggling with that anymore. I fixed that. Or that's not a worry anymore. I was really struggling with my ring nerves and now they only flare up once in a while and now I have tools for that. I'm so much better about that. The reason we need to celebrate is not just so that we can buy ourselves flowers or post on Facebook. It's so that we build confidence. And we build confidence and we build consistency. And that's when we start to see the outcomes happen. It's all related. Trust, believe, I promise. It's all related. If you are constantly coming out of the ring and the first thing you say to yourself is, ugh, we didn't cue, you're immediately tearing yourself down. No matter what happened in that ring, you could have maybe not cued because, I don't know, the judge called your contact wrong, or because the weird thing happened, some fluke thing happened that caused something to go haywire. All right. Or you could have just had some weird knock bar or some weird thing happen. I mean, just there's so many things, right? So, but if the first thing you're telling yourself is the negative aspect of it when you walk out of the ring and you're only measuring by the outcome, then yeah, it's a tougher road. Okay. And I'm not saying it's all sunshine and rainbows and unicorns and Skittles and all the things. And always look for the sunny side and don't process the negative. Hey, if you've been around me for any amount of time, you know that I don't believe that, right? I believe we have to process all of it, but I believe that if you're only measuring by your outcome and you're starting with the negative every time you walk out of the ring, that's going to have you in your feels big time. Okay. That's really going to be you're just going to be harder and harder on yourself. And yeah, maybe the people around you, are asking you this question. So find a different way to answer it. Take control of that. Even say to your, significant other, hey, babe, can you not ask me if I queued this weekend? This is what I'm working on. Can you ask me about this? Ask me if I got eye contact out of the tunnel, right? Get some, educate those around you of what you're working on so you can let them in on the plan. They're not trying to not support you. They just don't know what to say or ask. And especially in the case of like acquaintances, like competitive acquaintances where we see them on the weekends and they're friends on the weekends, but they don't really know kind of the inside things that we're struggling with or working on, right? So don't just answer the quick question, like answer it thoughtfully. And maybe by doing so, they'll ask it differently, of someone else, right? Who's to know? Who's to know? Start a trend, right? It'd be fabulous. So your homework this weekend is to really maybe set one new process goal. Maybe you've got 3 or 4 or something and they're working for you, whatever, but maybe tweak one. Maybe set a process goal that you can get excited about, that is worth measuring, that is worth refocusing on your process goals and getting yourself back into that mode. Maybe even set a process goal that you think you can achieve, you feel really good about because you want some positive feedback. You want some celebration, some things to get happy about, but also you want to build your own confidence. You want to build your consistency. You want to show yourself that, yes, I can look at my dog coming out of the tunnel, piece of cake, got it. I know I can do this, right? So get a little more thoughtful about your process goals and about what they mean, and are they meaningful enough to be measuring against them? And are you really celebrating them? Are you really making progress? Are you evolving in this way? Are you executing against your process goals when you go into the ring? And if they're important enough that you need them to, get around a course beautifully in a way that puts you in a position to possibly cue, then they're important enough to measure against when you come out of the ring. Okay? So if you are, again, measuring by your outcome, just sort of catch yourself this weekend, as you go through the motions, as you go through your normal rituals and habits and things like that. When you come out of the ring, what is the first thought that you have? Is it that, oh my God, we nailed that entrance to the weaves? Or is it like, we didn't cue, even though we nailed the entrance to the weaves, right? Like, what is that inner monologue? Because as we all know, that self-talk is the most powerful words that we will hear, okay? The most impactful words that we will hear are the ones we say to ourselves. So that's your homework. Really get some self-awareness about how you're using your process goals. Are you measuring only by outcome and not by process? Like, kind of where are you in this conversation, I guess, right? And sorry if I sound like total teacher today. I'm just like, darn it, I want everybody to be measuring by their process. And, it's, of course, some of this is because I trialed this weekend and, listening to people, again, not celebrate their process. They come out of the ring and just like, wah, we haven't cued in a year. Or I can't understand why we can't get it. And they're just talking about it as if it is this one magical thing. And yes, those green ribbons are magical, but the more magic is in the progress and in those process goals and in the fact that you aren't today where you were 6 months ago or 3 months ago even, that you are always improving and evolving and growing as a handler. Because if you're doing all those things, those cues will come. They will. So that's your homework. I would love to know how it goes. I would love to know if this is hitting a nerve for you, if you are one of those people who has their process goals but are measuring by their outcomes. All right, so let me know. And as always, no matter what you're up to this week with your dog, I hope you have a fantastic time. Thanks so much for listening to the Mindset Coaching for Handlers podcast with me, Julie Bacon. I am so grateful for your precious time. Check out my Dogged Planner workbook and journal available on Amazon. Just search for Dogged Planner. I also offer monthly membership that's perfect for ongoing support of your awesome goals. Check out theqcoach.com for details, or just stop by and check out all the ways you can work on your mindset. And be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Q Coach and let me know how it's going. Finally, please share, subscribe, and leave a review. This helps us podcasters tremendously. Plus, I know I get my best podcast recommendations from friends. Thanks, and have a great week with your dogs.